everybody. We are so happy to have you at our December District Community Advisory Committee. My name is Carmen Hernandez, and I have the privilege and honor of hosting today's meeting. I thank you for all of our guests that are joining us from our district, from our community, those of you joining us via Zoom, those of you joining us virtually, those of you who may be seeing this a little bit later in the day. Thank you so much for being here. Before we go ahead and we go on, I want to remind everybody that we have an interpretation feature. If you're joining us on Zoom, we would ask that you go ahead and that you take a look at the globe at the bottom of your screen, that you select interpretation. We also recommend, even if you're an English speaker, that you select the English button. If you would like to hear the presentation in Spanish, we ask that you select Spanish or Khmer. It's up to you whether or not you choose to mute original audio. Sometimes that's helpful to not hear the interference from maybe some of the other channels. But we'll go ahead and we'll give you a minute or so to take care of that. I thank Ms. Valenzuela for being here on the line with us to provide interpretation. And then, as always, our multimedia folks are supporting us from afar. And so thank you to Mr. Kao and one of our colleagues from one of our local agencies who's also supporting us in Khmer and Spanish. And we have a colleague supporting in American Sign Language. So again, if you require interpretation, you're looking for that globe. In addition, to be able to hear us clearly, even if you speak English, we ask that you select the English channel. If you prefer to hear the presentation in Spanish, we ask that you select Spanish or Khmer. As always, Angel Garcia is here supporting, and so every so often in the chat, he's going to go ahead and provide us with a link to the agenda. He's also going to provide us with a link for the attendance. And so if you're joining us, whether you're a guest, whether you're an LBUSD staff member, a parent, we ask that you go ahead and click on that link. That'll take you to a form where you can just let us know that you're here and what school or schools you may be representing. On that note, I'm going to go ahead and ask Maria Miranda to bring our meeting to order. Ms. Miranda, if you can unmute.
Hola, muy buenas tardes, bienvenidos. Mi nombre es María Miranda y vamos a llamar.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Maria Miranda. I'm calling this meeting to order. So please, I'm going to ask that all representatives of the school give their name. And I'm going to open the motion to start the meeting. So it's 2:33 p.m. and we're about to start the meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Miranda. And so here is the agenda for today's meeting. So again, we welcome everybody for being here, both from our district staff and our parent representatives. If this is your first meeting and you're joining us via Zoom, or you're joining us via YouTube, welcome. We are so thankful that you're here. Again, you could be anywhere else. So many items, so many things to do, especially this time of year, so many other things to care for, but you've taken the time to join us. And so we want to make this time valuable for you and for you to be able to take back to your school sites. And so the Office of Research and School Improvement is joining us. So Mr. Chris Brown is here to give us a data update. In addition, we have the Office of School Support Services that are back, specifically our transformative social emotional coaches. So we have Amy Love and Dr. Prager who are here, and they're going to leave us feeling warm and cozy on the inside. I just know it. And then we'll go ahead and we'll close out our meeting. So I am going to ask for a motion for an approval of our agenda. So again, You can motion by saying your first and last name and the school site that you are representing. So any of our guests are able to motion for the approval of the agenda.
My name is Julia Gomez, and then I'm from Bobby Smith, and then I do a motion for the agenda.
Thank you so much. Do we have a second?
Yes, my name is Lorena Rodriguez. I'm representing Smith Elementary School.
Thank you so much. And so everyone in favor? Is there anyone that opposes?
No, I agree.
Thank you so much. We'll go ahead and we will continue with the agenda as it stands. Some norms, just a reminder, we want to go ahead and be present. We want to minimize distractions. Again, so many things that are pulling us in different directions, but thank you for being here. We want to seek to understand diverse points of view. We want to share the space that we create and assume positive intentions of all of those sharing that same space and a commitment of respect for all that are here with us today. As we continue to meet virtually, a reminder of some Zoom norms. We'll use the chat feature to share thoughts. And so again, the agenda link, the attendance link will continue to be posted in the chat for you to be able to access. If you have questions for us and you don't feel comfortable unmuting, feel free to place them in the chat. We save those as well. And another thing I'd like to add, if for whatever reason you're having difficulty opening the attendance link, feel free to write your first and last name and the school site that you represent in the chat. And we will save that as well as to make sure to document that you were here. If you do have a question, we ask that you use the raise hand feature, but know that at the end of each presentation, we allow ample time for you to be able to converse and ask questions of our presenters. We also ask that you mute your microphone unless you're speaking to the group, just to make sure that we're not having any distractions around us, and strive to be visible. We love to see your smiling faces, but we know that sometimes with the camera on, it causes connectivity issues. So if you need to turn off your camera video, we completely understand. And so we're going to go ahead and add, before I give the floor to Mr. Brown, we're going to add the minutes to the chat, and we want you to be able to review them. And then at the end of our meeting, we'll go ahead and see if there are any questions for the minutes as they stand. So Angel Garcia will add the link to the minutes in the chat so you can review them at your leisure. But at this time, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I'm going to welcome Chris Brown to the space. He's going to provide us with an update from his Office of Research. So welcome, Chris Brown.
Thank you, Carmen. Give me a second here to share my screen. Let's see. Is it showing with, let's see.
It's coming. Yes.
You see the whole thing, or is it showing with weird black bars on the top and bottom?
Yes, so it looks teeny tiny. So just
All right.
black bars on the side.
Hold on a sec. I can fix this. Maybe.
Perfect.
I can't fix this actually. So while I fix this, the Office of Research and School Improvement works on a lot of the data that we have in the system. Second here, and a lot of the different systems that we have, like Elroy and Parent View and Teacher View. But one of the things that's sort of come to the fore at the moment, and a lot of families have heard about and want to know more about, is iReady. So I'm going to spend most of my time today actually talking about iReady, a little overview about what it is and how it assesses students, and then a more of a piece around how do we compare. Again, we've only given it one time, and a lot of districts have given it, 3 times a year for the last 5 years. But, how do we compare coming out of the pandemic, looking at October with our students, compared to, say, the rest of the nation, the rest of the state, and the rest of school districts that look like us? So that's where we're going to start. If I can get it to work. I think I can.
You can always share it with me and I can share my screen if that works for you.
Interesting. Look at this. Here we go. I'm going to do it a different way.
And then as we wait, just a friendly reminder that we do have kind interpreters doing the best that they can to share what we say to those that aren't speaking English in Spanish and Khmer. And so as we're presenting, let's make sure that we're taking that time to pause so they can go ahead and make sure that they're capturing and conveying the message that we have. And it looks like we are ready to go, Mr. Brown.
Are we a little bit better this way? A little bit bigger?
Yes. So I think once you just put it in present mode, maybe it'll be a little bit larger.
Throwing the present onto the other screen, which is a vertical screen. So that's
I see. Okay, no, so that's fine.
So, all right, so here we go. So I think one of the things that we talk about a lot when we talk about testing is we talk about how did our students do nationally, and did our students get a perfect score, and those types of things. But one of the things we have to remember is that a lot of our tests that we give, the SAT test, the SBAC, things like that, those are what we call norm reference tests, which means how a student does is really all about how every other student did in the nation or in the testing group, right? So in other words, your score is considered very high if you did relatively better than other students, and your score is considered low if you did relatively worse than other students. And so you could get a really, really high score and get most of the questions wrong if everybody else got most of the questions wrong, right? It's really about your relative performance. iReady is very different. iReady is a criterion reference test, which really means it's not about how everyone else did. It's really just about how you did on the standards that are being assessed. And for iReady, for our district, it's the standards of reading and math. And so it's really looking at how well do you know third grade math standards if you are a third grade student, or how well do you read like a seventh grader if you're a seventh grade student. And it's not like every other test where it's about how you did compared to everyone else. And for some of our students, it's causing a little bit of consternation because the test is also computer adaptive, which means as you get questions correct, it gives you harder and harder questions until it gets to questions that you can't get correct. And as you get questions incorrect, it gives you questions that are easier. And it really does that to find the exact level of your performance on a standard. So if you're an accelerated student and you're scoring really well on things and you're answering questions correctly, it's going to give you material that you have not seen and you're going to get it wrong. And that is completely okay. You know, a third grader has not seen seventh grade math. So if a third grader is scoring really well and gets a seventh grade math question, the expectation is that they're not going to get it correct. In fact, the test, the way it works is almost all students, no matter how well they do, will get about half the questions wrong. And that's how it dials in on exactly what you can do and what's the very next thing for you to do as a student. It gives us much more detailed information about a student's next steps and where we should really support a student than a test that's norm reference, which really only tells us how a student did compared to every other student. And so that's a fundamental difference that I always like to start with iReady as we get into the data. So we have a lot of families that saw scores that were not like scores they were used to seeing for students. And that's okay, because it wasn't comparing your students to other students. It was really just looking at standards. So in the fall, we gave iReady K-12. We give it in October, and we will give it 3 times this year. So we'll give iReady in October, we'll give it again in February, and then we'll give it again in May, June, and then we'll give it again the following year. And one of the things that I want to stress is that today I'm going to show you data about how kids scored compared to grade level. Like, are they at grade level? Are they above grade level, et cetera? But really, that's a tiny piece of what we use iReady for. We're much, much more interested in growth. So keep that in the back of your head as I talk about data. It's really, at the moment, less important where kids start. It's more important how kids develop over the year. So the growth between October and February and June is what we're super interested in, and making sure students are growing to catch up or to get ahead or to be where they need to be. That's the more important part of iReady. And that's why millions of students take iReady across the country every year, is to give that data around growth so we know how to support them moving forward. But in our district, you can see we had about 4,000, a little over 4,000 students take the test in each grade. And I'm really going to talk about K-8 today. We did give the test in high school, but I'm going to focus on K-8 because that's where the data is really comparative to other schools in the state. So what I'm going to talk about is how we compare to the state and how we compare the nation coming out of the shutdown and the closures, and where we are compared to everybody else. So it's interesting. So we know that when we closed schools nationwide in March of 2020 and students went to online learning, hybrid learning, that was going to have an impact on the rate at which they grew. And no one knew what that impact would be. But most of us believe, and I still believe, that being face-to-face with a teacher and having that interaction with teachers is the best thing for students. And so we knew there would be some unfinished learning, and there was. So what this chart's really showing us is that when you look at the percentage of students in each grade that are on grade level this year compared to previous years, you see that we've got some unfinished learning in math, specifically in grades 4, 5, and 6, which makes sense because those are students who were probably impacted the most by the closure because they had the least amount of time. Current first graders, that would have been their kindergarten year. They hadn't been in school that long. But current fourth graders, they lost their third grade year basically. And so right now we know that the nation is about 9 points behind where it would normally be, and the state about the same. So the state's actually 10 points behind, and the nation is more than 10 points behind. So California as a state actually seems to have fared slightly better than the rest of the country in terms of math unfinished learning. And when we look at Long Beach, so Long Beach is the new green bar to the far right, Long Beach fared better than California. So for example, in second grade, on average every year in California, about 12% of students come into the school year, start the school year in October on grade level, which is to be expected. It's the start of the year. If they're a little bit behind, or if they're scoring at the end of the first grade level, that's totally fine. They just finished first grade. So these are kids who are either where they need to be or ahead of where they need to be. After the pandemic, it was only 10% of kids. For Long Beach, it's still 12% of kids, much like California was before the pandemic. Now, we don't know what we were before the pandemic because we don't have iReady data from before the pandemic. But what we do know is that after the closures, Long Beach is scoring about where the state scored before the closures and much better than where the state is scoring after the closures. I presented this to the principals the other day. And one of the things I want to really care about is when we compare ourselves, it's great. I don't think anybody's satisfied with these numbers. This is not going to be good enough for the state, for the nation, and definitely not for Long Beach. So we have work to do, as we knew we would. But at least we're at a better starting point than some of our sister districts around the state. So you could see it varies year to year. So like first grade, we're a couple points ahead. Fourth grade, we're only a point ahead. Fifth grade, a couple points ahead. But it's consistent. We are outscoring the state in terms of how many of our students came in, where do they need to be, or ahead of where they need to be, and then don't need any intervention. They still need support. They still need great learning. They don't need intervention for math. And that's how we compare it to our state. The other group that we like to compare ourselves to is the Council of Great City Schools. So the Council of Great City Schools represents the 75 largest urban school districts in the nation, and we are one of those. So it's a really good group for us to interact with and speak with and compare our data to, because they are like Long Beach. They come from big cities, they come from diverse cities like Long Beach, and they're big districts like Long Beach. It's not really appropriate for Long Beach, a district is from a diverse city, to compare itself to a small rural school district of 4,000 students somewhere, right? So we belong to the Council of Great City Schools. And in the council, 74 of the 75 member districts use iReady to measure their growth. So it gives us a good baseline. And again, what we see is that in most grades, the council dropped over time. They dropped during the pandemic, and they're actually scoring slightly below where Long Beach is scoring. You can see there are 2 points below us in first grade, a point below us in second grade. We're about even across all of the urban schools in third grade. We're a little below in fourth grade, and then we're above again in fifth, sixth, seventh, and eighth grade. So again, a good bellwether for us, good comparison. And as we take the February assessment and we look at how much of our students progress between October and February, we'll be able to compare that progression to other districts. And if there are districts that are doing amazing things, we can reach out to them and see what they're doing to support their kids that maybe we're not doing. So having that comparison also gives us the ability to reach out and get those strong supports to make sure that we aren't waiting till next year to see what our kids did. We're waiting, just a few months, see how they're doing, and then make some changes as needed. And that's the other reason that we chose to adopt iReady. Historically, in California and other states, we use the SBAC, and I'm sure you've all heard of SBAC testing, as a way of measuring student progress. One of the problems we have with SBAC testing is the kids take it in April, May, and we don't usually get the results until the following October. So it becomes really hard to intervene and build structures for those kids to get them moving ahead when we don't even know how they did for 6 months after they took the test. iReady, we get student results the 5 minutes after they take the test. And so that allows us to really see growth sort of live timing as we go. So this is on grade level or on or above. The flip side, and the side that we're really, I think, in the media have been talking about, is what do we do about students who are far behind coming out of the pandemic? Students who, for some reason, this closure, this pandemic really impacted them and their families and really put a barrier between them and learning. And how many of those students do we have, and how do we look compared to the country? And then for us, of course, who are those students and how do we help them? So one of the things we look at is how did the district, or the state and the nation do? And as you can see, gray bars are the sort of pre-pandemic numbers. Red bars are the post-closure numbers. I won't say post-pandemic because we're not quite through it, I don't know yet, but post-closure numbers. And you can see that kind of across the board for both the nation and the state, COVID really increased the number of students who are sort of 2 or more grade levels behind. So in other words, I'm a fourth grader, but I'm scoring at the second grade level to start the year. Not that that is insurmountable. It absolutely can be recovered, and absolutely that kid can be totally successful. But it's just nice to know how many of those students we have and how do we then identify those students and intervene. And you can see things like, the nation in, say, third grade, historically 30% of kids in the nation come in 2 or more grade levels behind. Now, that number in and of itself is unacceptable, but that's the national average year over year all the time. After we closed schools in 2020, it's now 40% who come in 2 or more grade levels behind. And for the state, it went, from 33 to 47. So in this case, it's interesting. What we saw in the state of California was our students who are prepared seem to be slightly less impacted, but our students who were struggling a little bit seem to be slightly more impacted than their colleagues in other parts of the country by the school closure. So it really shows the importance of school to students in California for their success. Again, the big question we got when we asked this was, but what about Long Beach? And again, just like in the on grade level, the deal with Long Beach is our students are actually doing relatively better than their colleagues across the state. So in other words, fewer of our students are coming in as far behind as we see in the state of California, which is, one of those good news, bad news type situations. These sort of brownish, orangish bars are not acceptable to anybody in this district. However, at least we know that what our teachers did over the time they were away from kids in person was better than what a lot of their colleagues did. And our teachers really tried their best to make the best of a bad situation. And so our kids have an advantage compared to their colleagues in other districts around the state. And we need to take that advantage and build on it to get our kids back to where they need to be. So like I said, good news, bad news, but nobody's sitting here going, this is okay, because it's not. And then again, the same thing, the idea was we also looked at how we did compared to other large urban school districts, and the results are actually much more stark. Around the country, large urban districts like Long Beach really fared very poorly during the school closures. Students who lived in those districts really need in-person instruction. They really need to go to school to be successful. And the online learning and the hybrid learning, as hard as those people work, as hard as those staffs have worked, it's just didn't seem to result in full learning. And the fact that, you know, for a lot of these districts, they were closed for months and had to rapidly switch to online learning, it really impacted them. And what this helps show is that while no one is saying our switch was perfect, we were able to kind of do it a little quicker than some of our colleagues, and we were able to mitigate some of that unfinished learning. Not enough of it, but some of it. And so that's math. The picture is a little bit different in reading, to be entirely honest. What we saw for reading is that for early grade students, specifically first, second, third grade students, the stoppage, the closure of school had an impact in reading. But once you got into the higher grades, fourth, through eighth grade, students were able to perform almost as well in the hybrid or online learning environments as they had been in person. And so the loss of learning for both the state and the nation is a little bit less. In fact, for the state, it's almost the same across most grade levels. You see, like in grades 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th, exactly the same number of students coming in on grade level as pre-pandemic. And then, of course, when we compare that to Long Beach, as we know, Long Beach does much better than the state and continues to do so. Whereas, 25% of students in our state, 1/4 of students in our state come in to 5th grade reading on level, it's 30% in Long Beach. And that's a huge percentage change. 5% over such a big group of students is a big deal. Again, no one's saying it's okay. We want all of our students to come in ready, and we got some work to do, but we're better off. And so we don't know what our change over the pandemic was, but we're hopeful that it was minimal in reading like it was for the rest of the state and the nation. And then same thing when we compare ourselves to other large urban school districts. Long Beach students during the closure basically outperformed their peers in urban school districts. So we have a lot of work to do, but our students are in a good starting spot to start the year. We have a good base from which to build our students up into the next few years as we work with them and develop teaching strategies that work both online and in person. And again, the flip side, I could talk about the same thing, but I'll go quicker because it looks kind of the same with the students who are coming in below. For math and for reading, both for math, everybody was impacted. For reading, it's still, again, the early grade level students. So your first, second, third grade. And that makes sense a little bit if you think about the idea that in kindergarten, first, second, and third grade, students are learning to read. 4th, 5th, and 6th grade, students are reading to learn. So not all of our students, of course, but a lot of our students have got the basic fundamentals of reading down by 3rd grade. So it makes sense that the students who were subjected to the closure in that sort of critical time period of learning to read, kindergarten, 1st, 2nd, 3rd grade, are the ones who've shown the most negative impact of COVID on their learning, whereas students who already were past that 3rd grade, 4th grade window, students who are in middle school, are performing at about where they were performing before the pandemic. So this data is not completely unexpected, both for the nation, the state, as well as for Long Beach. And again, for Long Beach, far fewer of our kids are coming in behind grade level or severely behind. So we definitely have students that we have to provide interventions and support for, but we have fewer of them compared to some of our other districts. So we have the ability to maybe target a little more focus on them because we have fewer of them that we need the severe supports for. And if you're wondering, we're talking about these data pieces. This is 10+ million students nationwide who were given this test in October, and it's over 1 million students in California. So it's a really strong comparison in terms of data for us. It's not just a few districts, it's a large sample of students that we can compare ourselves to. And then same with the great city schools. When we compare ourselves, we compare very favorably. But like I said, in the beginning, this is all about where our students came back to us after the 2020 closure. This is where they came back to us to start the year. But I'm far more interested in how fast are they growing. It's okay to start third grade, 2 grade levels behind. As long as you progress through third grade, you're gaining ground, you're moving forward, you're growing. So the next time, hopefully I get to present data to you, I'll be able to present some growth data to show you how our students are progressing through the year. And if they're not progressing fast enough for us, the things that we might do to make some changes so that between February and June, they progress even faster. Because really, it's okay to have students who are behind. That's totally fine. We have to catch them up. It's not okay if they stay behind or fall farther behind. That's what's completely unacceptable. And so that's what we're going to be really working on as a system. We have a few ways that we work on that. So there we go. Obviously, some of it's culture, really helping students get back into the swing of school, helping students focus on their growth, helping students set goals to know where they are. I liken it to diet and weight loss for people, right? It's one thing to say, I want to lose weight, but to really do it, you have to know, how much do you weigh? How much do you want to lose? Where is appropriate for you? You have to set goals, and you can't just sort of be like, well, I don't know what I weigh and I don't know what I want to weigh, but I want to lose weight. It won't happen. And so same with our students, right? What do you already know? And what's the very next thing for you to learn, and really having that open with them. So as we roll through our iReady implementation over the next few years, we're going to build a culture of really having open conversation with our students and our parents around knowing where they're at and knowing what the very next thing is, so we know how we support them as a school, how the parents can support them at home, to really get them to grow. And that kind of leads to that second part, which is scaffolding and support, which is really making sure we provide the students with the just-in-time things that they need. One of the things that the principals have heard me say a lot is that when we look about student growth and we look at where students are, it's about acceleration, not remediation. So let me give you an example. If we have an 8th grade student who's in algebra who takes iReady, and iReady tells the teacher, hey, this student really needs some support with fractions. Well, fractions is a 4th grade standard maybe. But what we don't want to see is that the teacher suddenly starts teaching the student 4th grade material. That is not what the student needs. That would be remediation. And we know in education that you can't catch up by going slower. No one's ever caught up by going slower. Instead, what we need to do is when we're presenting a new topic to this student and the topic has fractions, we might do a quick little 5-minute mini lesson on fractions to bring the student back up to speed so the student can still access the 8th grade content. So we never want to take students out of their grade level content. We want to keep them in their grade level content and accelerate their their earlier learning with just-in-time supports. I got to be honest, that is an extremely challenging thing to do. So one of the things I've been asking for as I talk to parents is patience as we work through how to do this. It's not something a lot of our systems have been good at doing in the past. And our teachers are really working hard and they're doing a great job in establishing this. But this is something we're learning to do as we go. But really, it's about speeding kids up to catch up, not about trying to say, slow down, go back and repeat. We definitely are not talking about that. And so that really is helping empower students, because it's not, hey, you can't do this. It's, of course you can do this. And here's what you need to make sure you do it well. And here's the very next thing you can learn. And then with that also comes bringing families into the work. So if you log on to Parent View for your student, you can see the iReady report for your student's test in October. And it will give you some information about how your student's performing and what are the supports you can provide to your student. And then really thinking about our training and moving forward. So that's how we're going to respond. And Carmen, if I have a few more minutes, I'm just going to talk about growth for a second. We do not have growth data in Long Beach because we've given the test one time, but a lot of the rest of the country does. So I just wanted to show some things a little bit so that we know kind of what's happening. One of the things that iReady really does that I talked about a minute ago when I opened was this focus on growth, this idea that we're going to move students. So every student actually gives, or we are given for every student, what's called a typical goal, growth goal, and a stretch growth goal. And really, we want to make sure that our students all make their typical growth goals and that most of our students make their stretch goals. And the reason we have both is a typical growth goal either keeps the kid on where they're at if they're doing well, or brings kids closer to where they need to be. But a stretch growth goal really accelerates a student's learning. So if students are meeting their stretch goal there and they're behind, they're really catching up. If they're a student who's on level or an accelerated student, they're really pushing forward, because we want our students who are on level to push forward. We want our students who are a little behind to catch up so that they can then start pushing forward, right? We want everybody doing better. And so we established 2 goals for each student, right? And again, if we go back to my weight loss example, it's like, I'd love to lose 2 pounds a week, but 4 pounds a week would be awesome, right? It's that idea of, I got my goal that I'll be happy at, and then I got my goal that's really out there. Both are good. And so we're going to really monitor how many students are meeting the typical goals, how many students are meeting our stretch goals. And then, you know, where we have places where students are doing really well, what's going on there? What are they doing? If there's a school where all the students are meeting their stretch goals, or a classroom, so that we can share that across our system and really make sure that we get all of our kids moving forward. That being said, for the rest of the country, we know now what COVID did to growth. So K-8, here's how students did in math. The orange bar is sort of pre-pandemic. So the number of students meeting their typical and their stretch growth goals. So, you know, when we look sort of pre-pandemic, we see that nationwide, or sorry, this is the state of California. This is the nation. In the state of California, you know, about most kids, 2/3 to 3/4 of kids meet their typical goal, and then half to a little less of kids meet their stretch goal. This is what's happening. So it'll be interesting to see where we fall into this as we start getting growth. And of course, I'll tell you, our expectation is to be better than everybody else, because this is Long Beach and we expect to be better than everybody else with what we're doing for our students. Here's how it sort of compares to 2 years ago. So what I showed you was, sorry, post-pandemic. But 2 years ago, before there was a pandemic, when kids were in classrooms, you can see that most kids actually made more than their stretch goal. So in other words, in kindergarten, if my stretch goal was 100 points, the average kid made 121 points of growth, right? So pre-pandemic, across our state, kids in districts that were using iReady to monitor growth were actually exceeding their typical growth goal pretty regularly. And then post-pandemic, it's not, right? So again, nothing shocking there. We know that COVID has really impacted students, but it's interesting to see that not only did it impact where they start, but for districts that tested throughout, it's also impacted how fast students are progressing. So students are falling behind and aren't progressing as fast in a pandemic world as they were before. So we really have some work to do. We don't have Long Beach data, but this will help us understand where we are so that we know how to compare ourselves and how to push forward. And similar story in math, or sorry, in reading. Again, you see that I'm actually going to skip that one. You can see that the change is much bigger in the early grades than it is in the later grades for reading. But the idea is still being that far fewer of their students are meeting or exceeding their typical growth goal. And that the average student is, you know, like the average first grader used to beat their growth goal by 6%. Now they're not even meeting their growth goal, the average first grader. They're 62% of their growth goal. So this is one of the things that we're going to keep an eye on as we start giving our own measures in Long Beach. And actually, I'm going to skip the last 2 slides because they're irrelevant for what I'm talking about. I apologize. And say that if there's anything else I can answer or help you with, I would love to. But that's really where we are with iReady. To start the year, we have a lot of other data, but that's our iReady data from our October administration, since I know that's been on a lot of people's mind. And that's it for me.
Thank you so much, Mr. Brown, and we look forward to having you in the future to be able to see how our students have grown, to be able to see how these interventions have supported our students and what we've learned along the way. We are opening this time up for questions and see if any of our participants have questions for Mr. Brown. I do see that there's a question in the chat wanting to know more about the data for Long Beach. So the question is, why do we not have data for Long Beach? And this is from Ms. Lilia Ocampo.
No problem. So the data that we don't have is growth data. And the reason we don't have it is the only way to get growth data is to look at how kids scored on the first test and then compare it to how they score on the second test. And we've only given 1 test. We only gave the test in October. So until we give 2 tests, we won't have growth goals. Most of the other districts that use iReady across the state and across the nation have actually used it for almost 5 years. So they've got 15 or 20 administrations where they can look at growth between each one. We just have the one. We just started with this. So we will have growth data starting in February once we give the second test for everyone except kindergarten. Kindergarten has not taken any test yet. They will take their first test in February. We didn't feel like it was fair to say, welcome to school for the first time ever, here's a test, right? We wanted them to get used to having in school, build a relationship with their teacher, build a relationship with their peers, get comfortable in the school setting, and then we'll see where we are, because we thought that relationship part was more important first than the testing part. So we will only have growth for grades 1 through 12 in February, and then in June we'll have growth again for everybody, and we will continue this process moving forward.
Thank you for clarifying. Do we have anybody else who'd like to either ask a question in the chat or would like to unmute and ask Mr. Brown a question on his presentation? Yes, I see a hand raised. Malia? Welcome.
Hi, Chris. My question is for the students that they are not doing so well, as you mentioned. Do you know what type of implementations that they help them through their struggling in the district?
Sure. So, I mean, there's a couple things, and good to talk to you again, Ms. Coleman. It's been a minute. Coleman and I know each other from back at our days at camps.
Absolutely.
So it depends what the student is struggling in, to be honest. So this is one of the things where I would defer to my level office peers, but I do know, for example, for primary grade students struggling in reading, we have a number of different literacy interventions we're having going on. There's literacy coaches now at every elementary school. There's a WonderWorks intervention, there's an LLI intervention, and there's one more. I would have to really defer to Mr. Moskovitz to give you the details on those. And we have similar math interventions, and then really breaking it down to the teacher level too, right? So as the teachers start to look at their data and look at, what are my students missing? Because it's one thing for me to look at the whole district and all 70,000 of our students, but really the students in, let's say, Carmen's classroom might have slightly different needs than the students in my classroom. That's fully expected. And so one of the things we're working with our teachers slowly, because we don't want to overwhelm them and kill them, because it is a rough time right now, is how to look at their own class data and how to really start thinking about, okay, hey, I got these 5 students who need this, or these 6 students over here who need that, and how do I give them that as we move through? But with that, like I said earlier, not taking them out of the grade level, right? We do not want to pull them out of their grade level content. If you're in 3rd grade, you need to be doing 3rd grade stuff. You don't need to go back and do 1st grade stuff. You need to do 3rd grade stuff with support. So we have, like for the literacy, there's pull-out support. There's also push-in support, where we're bringing the literacy teacher into the classroom so they can pull small groups to the side to do that quick intervention to get them up to speed so they can get back with the whole group. So there's a lot of things going on. There's probably more than I can reference at once. And really what I'm looking at in my office is, and which ones are working the best so we can do more of those ones, right? So that's where I'm looking at the data. I start looking for trends to say, hey, where are we seeing the biggest positive impact? What's happening there, and how do we spread that across the system? And that's where hopefully the February assessment will let me start to see growth, because that's what I'm more interested in. Looking at year over year growth is really hard to respond to. But if I can look at growth between October and February, that's really what's going on in the classroom. And now I can say, hey, Carmen's kids are all killing it. They're really growing. Can I go talk to you, Carmen? What are you doing? Like, sure. Explain what's going on, and then I'm gonna go teach that to everyone else. So that's what kind of our plan is.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the question. And I'll reiterate, as Mr. Brown said, not just reaching out to your level offices, but to your individual school sites, right? Because each of them are implementing those interventions that are specific for the needs of the students at their schools. So they will also be the best ones to let you know how it is that they're supporting the students at those schools. Any other questions for Mr. Brown? We're happy to have so many faces with us. As people continue to join, Ms. Salgado, we'll get to you in just a quick second. I want to remind those of you that have just joined us in the chat, we are posting a link to the agenda. We are also posting a link to the attendance and to our minutes. And so for the attendance, you would just click on it. It leads you to another form. You add your name and the school sites that you're representing. If for whatever reason you're having trouble with the link, please feel free to add your name, your first and last name, and the school site to our chat. And that way we can keep track of your attendance. And interpretation. So if you require interpretation in a language other than English, you can go ahead and look for the little globe at the bottom of your screen and select Spanish or Khmer. I would also ask that you select English, even if you're an English speaker. That way there isn't interference with the other channels. And so, Ms. Salgado, thank you for being here. Feel free to unmute yourself and ask your question.
Sorry, it took me a second. I had a question, and I apologize since I wasn't, I didn't get to hear all the data, but I did have a question around some of what I am seeing at school sites. Rating, I appreciate and love that we're seeing a lot more tutoring options at the school sites. And as you said, Mr. Brown, that you want to see some of that data come back with improvement numbers in February or as we proceed throughout the school year. But one of the things that I'm realizing serving on a couple of school sites councils is that there's an underutilization of some of those tutoring offerings. And I'm wondering if you guys are also tracking some of that information in terms of where you're seeing improvement and those students, the ones that are taking on those tutoring options, or if there's some challenges that we're missing along the way so that school sites can continue to support our students at that level.
Yeah, absolutely. So I meet every 2 weeks with the Office of Curriculum, and I will say that a couple of the tutoring programs are run through that office. There's probably a bunch of programs I don't even know about, but for the programs that I do know about, we are going to start tracking who was attending and who wasn't, and did that lead to growth? Did that lead to increases in performance? So it's too early to tell because we just don't have any data points yet. But one of the things that Superintendent Baker has charged me with over the next few years, and especially in this year, is we want to get the most bang for our educational buck, so to speak. And it's really not about money, it's about time. And we want to make sure that we are providing the most high quality supports we can for kids. So the ones where the kids get the most progress. And the only way for us to know that is to measure progress for each thing. So we are going to be looking at the different tutoring options, how kids attended, and did that attendance or lack of attendance have an impact? I will say that part of it is the quantitative part. The other part that I've challenged my staff with is the qualitative part, which is if we see a program that is over or under achieving compared to our expectations, there'll be a part where we go out to the school site and ask, what's going on? Do you have roadblocks? Are there things that are stopping kids from getting here that we don't know about? But we have to wait and see, for at least from my office, how those things are performing before I know which schools to go start bugging about what their issues are. I'm sure you could probably get an even more detailed answer from principals at certain sites about if they're having roadblocks with kids getting tutoring, because they see it, on the ground, so to speak, right now, as well as from the level offices. But for me, I'm trying to build the systems to give us the data so that when we talk to the board and when they ask about impact, we can tell them. And when Dr. Baker comes and says, hey, what's working, what's not, I can give her some information that we can then go follow up with on sites, teachers, tutoring programs, et cetera.
That's good to know. Thank you so much for answering. I mean, I think so often, there are things that are working really well, and there's always opportunities when things aren't working well. And as a parent, I just want to know that if there are roadblocks or challenges along the way, that we are adjusting, because so often I hear school sites say, these school site plans are, they're malleable, we can adjust, but yet I don't see that happening. So I just want to make sure that that's happening at a school site.
I mean, one of the things I have to say that Dr. Baker and I have talked about a few times, and that she's really pushed me on, is historically in all of education, not Long Beach unique, but we wait every year to see how the whole year played out. And when she offered this position to me a year and a half ago, her position was, we can't wait a year all the time to see how our kids are doing. We have to see in the middle. So a big part of my role is to try and build the systems to give us updates midstream so that principals know how to make changes. The problem is the plans have always been flexible, but principals didn't know which way to flex them necessarily with the data. So we're trying to build that support for principals so that their job is to respond, not to try and find the data. I'll try and find the data for them, and then they can respond to it in the best way to support their kids.
So we have time for about 2 more questions. Anyone that hasn't asked if they would like to ask Mr. Brown a question. I see Ms. Coleman wants to reconnect. Go ahead, Ms. Coleman.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. I really enjoy the system that you're working on because I was the parent who complained about the aspect scores because, and I also mentioned that poor James, I always argue or actually informing him that your aspect score doesn't work because by the time the data come, our students already move on to fourth grade. I'm always concerned about the third grade level because according to statistics nowadays that they said in order for the prison cell to remodel or build more prisons, they look at the third grade level in the education system. And that's something we really need to focus on, and that is the third grade level. And right now, the last aspect scores that we took, and these kids are already in fifth grade. And I'm concerning about the Pacific Islander communities because the last scores, there were 65% of them did not meet in math, and then 63% did not meet in English. So that means all these students that they didn't meet within that test scores, they're in fifth grade. And I'm concerned how they're doing during the pandemic and all. If there's a possibility we can have data for Pacific Islander, that would be greatly appreciated, where they're at this point. And I would like to pick it up from your office or email it to me if possible.
So we have not done the ethnic breakdown data just yet, but we are doing it for both the board and Dr. Baker. So that question has been asked for Pacific Islanders as well as for our Latinx and our African American students as well. So we are working on that, and as soon as we have it, we'll be sharing it out. So I'm going to defer to Dr. Baker on when it gets shared, but yes, we will have that data. We just have not pulled it yet for the ethnic groups.
Okay, thank you. And then we have one more question by Laura Mozo, who has their hand raised.
Sí, buenas tardes.
Yes, good afternoon. I have 3 questions. The first one is, how many tutors can schools have? Second question is, if the teachers who are providing tutoring during their break time or recess, I feel like that's not enough time. It's, you know, we appreciate it, but either they eat or they're learning. And the third question, how many students can a tutor have, like when they're providing the tutoring services? How many, what's the max amount of students?
Will help me, but I thought the first one was how many tutors are each school. The second question was more about when is tutoring and is it a lunchtime or after school only type thing? And then the third question was how many students can each tutor take? Is that, those are the 3 questions?
That's what I heard as well. Let's go ahead and let's go at it that way, Ms. Mozo.
Sí.
Okay, yes,
Okay.
yes.
You're not gonna like my answer. And the reality is I have not been involved in the design of the tutoring program. So I don't want to speak to it because I don't know the details. I would say that we can do a little research and Carmen and I can work together to find some answers to send out. I do know that at some sites, the tutoring is not just at lunch, but it is offered at lunch and after school. I don't know about before school. I know that some sites talked about that, but I don't know that that's happening. I don't know what the tutor number is because we have different outside vendors providing tutors and some sites are also doing tutoring on their own. And I don't know what the tutor to student ratio is because all of those details were driven by another office that, to be honest, I wasn't involved in. So I don't know all those details and I'm sorry about that. But we can try and look into those and get those answers for you. I just don't have that, not something I've been doing.
Yeah.
Sí, lo preguntaba, gracias, de todos modos.
Yes, thank you anyway, but I was asking because my daughter is struggling with one subject in particular, and so I spoke to her counselor and I was told that to take her to tutoring. So she's going to tutoring, but when she arrives, the teacher is teaching Japanese, and so she needs help with algebra. So I need an explanation because I really don't understand how that's possible. I just found out because the tutoring is my daughter's is going to tutoring right now. And so honestly, I think I don't even know what word to use. But if my daughter needs help with algebra and the teacher is teaching Japanese, so how I just don't understand. When is he supposed to help her with the issues she has or other students that need help with a different subject? So honestly, I think it's an urgent matter to have an answer regarding how many tutors and actually and just to have more help in the schools because I know a lot of students are behind, and I think it's an urgent matter to provide the necessary tutoring. Please, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mosso, for sharing that. And I'll be more than happy to reach out to you individually and seeing if we can't reach out to the school site and see what other responses we can get. I'm sure that we can get that clarified for you. Mr. Brown, thank you so much for your time, for the slides, for answering questions and engaging with us. Like I said, we are looking forward to having you back in the spring or whenever you have updates ready where we can share, and I'm sure we'll be able to celebrate the growth of our students. And so we really look forward to that. If you didn't get a chance, parents, to ask the questions that you wanted to, remember there's always a link where you can share your comments. And so Angel Garcia will place that link in the chat, and that will take you to another sheet where you can go ahead and ask what you would like, and then we'll go ahead and get back to you individually. So thank you, Mr. Brown. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Happy holidays. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Happy holidays, everyone. I look forward to the next time I'm back.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And so at this time, I'm going to go ahead and share the floor also with Miss Amy Love and Dr. Jennifer Prager. If you recall, last month they were here with their entire team of school support services. And so they are here to discuss a little bit more about transformative social emotional learning in regard to their vision. And so please go ahead and take it away.
Hi, everyone. I am Jennifer Prager, and I'm the social emotional learning coach at the elementary school level. And my colleague's going to introduce herself.
Good afternoon. My name is Amy Love, and I am our middle and high school social emotional learning coach. Also very pleased to be with you this afternoon.
So we're excited to be back. And we're here to hear from you. So at the end today, you're going to have an opportunity to voice what your thoughts are on a vision statement. But in order to get there, we're actually going to go backwards a little bit and give you a little bit of the history of how we got to where we are now. We have a social emotional learning advisory committee, and that was formed by Dr. Erin Simon, who was here with us last time, and she gathered about 30 people from around the district that are engaged in social emotional learning at all levels at schools. So there are high school teachers, elementary, there's some people that work in the FRC, there's some psychologists and counselors. There are people from all levels at the district that are doing this work, and she brought them together. Our goal was to talk about in the beginning, back in March of last year, what are our values? What do we want to see out of a district-wide approach to social emotional learning? And then as we moved forward, the committee really started to hone in on the what and the why of the work. What does it look like? How can we do this work? And we really started to look at the system-wide approach. And we started to work on a vision statement that would guide our work and ground our work and give us a way to move forward. So we initially, when we were thinking about this, we met with our stakeholder groups and including you all last year and gave a brief introduction to the work. We've met with many parent groups and students as well to hear what our community valued with our social emotional learning and how it impacted your family's needs and what your needs were and wants. And from there, we went back and we worked for several months on drafting, revising, and really constructing a valuable vision statement for our district for this work. And then in May, we from between May and June, we just really narrowed it down. We had multiple versions. We got it down to 2 vision statements that we feel represent where we are right now with the work. And in order to get it down to one final vision statement that will represent our district, we thought it wasn't our job to name what that vision statement was. We thought it was your job to have a vote in what you felt represented the work. So that's where we are today. We're actually going to present our 2 vision statements to you all, and you will have an opportunity to vote on which one you like best. Amy, go ahead.
Thanks, Dr. Prager. So before we move on to voting, we wanted to give you all an idea of exactly what is an SEL vision statement and how will the SEL vision statement be used in our district. So the social emotional learning vision statement doesn't replace our vision and mission as a school district. It also doesn't replace our equity policy. It supplements both of those things. And our intention for using our social emotional vision statement is to ground and guide our work together. So we imagine using the social emotional vision statement to help us make decisions about how we interact with each other, how teachers and students interact, how teachers interact with each other, how teachers and administrators interact with our families and caregivers. We imagine that our social emotional learning vision statement will also guide and ground our expectations in terms of the way that we treat each other and the way that we communicate with each other. We also look forward to using our social emotional learning vision statement to help us design and effectively implement the professional development opportunities that we offer as a school district. So we're talking about training opportunities for teachers, training opportunities for administrators, counselors, social workers, and of course, the kinds of trainings that we offer our caregivers and families. We also plan to use our social emotional learning vision statement to support the way that we coach in our district. And I imagine that, I guess if I'm really stretching, I liked how Mr. Brown talked about a stretch goal, that I imagine that that coaching would include our sports coaching. But I think when we created this slide, we had in mind our academic coaching. So part of the way that we support teachers in our school district is to provide them with academic coaching, professional coaching. So teachers have coaches who work with them to help them become even more effective instructors. And our SEL vision statement would help us make coaching decisions. We also, in the spring of this year, the spring of next year of 2022, I can't even believe that, 2022, y'all, our district is going to be engaging in a curriculum adoption process for a social emotional learning curriculum that we'll be purchasing. And our SEL vision statement is going to play a critical role in helping us to decide which of the curriculums that are available on the market meet the unique needs of our learners here in Long Beach. And finally, really just at the basic level, Dr. Prager and I consider ourselves kind of like gardeners, and that our job is to make sure that we're supporting our district in cultivating and creating really rich, nourishing soil so that all of the seeds that we plant into the soil can really grow and thrive. And we imagine our SEL vision statement as being just that, a way for us to ensure that the soil in the school district is strong and nourishing and has all of the nutrients and vitamins it needs to support the growth that we expect. And I was thinking about Mr. Brown's presentation on the assessments that our students have been engaging in lately, and the question that's, the questions we have around how can we ensure that growth happens for our students. And part of our mission to ensure that our students continue to grow and thrive in the ways that we know that they can is to make sure that we're taking care of our students' social emotional well-being. And this vision statement is directly tied to that. So before I show those vision statements, I wonder if anyone has any questions. I'm almost kind of afraid to ask, but I want to pause here to see if anyone has questions before we share our 2 vision statements that we're going to ask you to share your voice on. Any questions?
Parents, feel free to unmute or raise your hand if you happen to have a question before the reveal of the vision.
I have a quick question, if I may. This is Mariela Salgado.
Yes, please.
I was just wondering if I heard you talk about this vision statement for teachers and those that interact with our students, and I love hearing this, but I was wondering if you all are also considering the rec aides that also, I feel like so often when we talk about professional development or any of these things, one of the level of staff that is missing that also interacts with our students are rec aides. Are you all including that role in this vision statement?
Yeah, thank you so much. Oh,
Go ahead, Amy. I was going to ask if you wanted to answer that.
we're probably both really excited, Ms. Salgado, to jump in to say absolutely yes, that this social emotional learning vision statement is really ours as a community, that we expect and we hope, and it will be our job to create ownership around this vision statement. And that's why we took it to the community. We met with our students and all of our stakeholder groups to gather input in what our community values in social emotional learning. And it's our responsibility, all of us, from rec aides to the folks who work in our cafeterias, to the folks who do the tutoring, to our teachers and administrators and our board and our superintendents, the whole entire community will be responsible really for making sure that we bring this SEL vision statement to life. Any other questions?
No, I feel like we need to have a drum roll for your great reveal.
All right, so we are going to do a reveal, and the way that we've been doing this is to offer an opportunity to just listen to the vision statement. So I'm going to read both vision statements. You can read along. I also want to just name that we have for you the vision statements translated into Spanish, and they're still currently being translated into Khmer. If you're a Khmer speaker on this call now or viewing this call a little bit later, it is our promise that we will be getting you the Khmer translation as soon as possible, and apologize for not having it ready this afternoon. So here we go. Yeah, this is kind of like a drum roll. We're a little bit nerdy around this, you all, because we've been working on these vision statements for almost 2 years, and it has been a labor of love. So it is like we're in labor and about to birth a baby, and we're so excited that you all are here to be a part of the process. So sit back and relax wherever you are. And I want you to just feel into what it feels like. What do these vision statements, how do they land for you? In a moment, we'll give you a link to vote on them. The first vision statement reads like this. In Long Beach Unified School District, we're committed to working alongside one another and creating brave, respectful, collaborative spaces to support all students, staff, families, and the community. We embrace all aspects of diversity by uplifting and elevating all voices of the community through the actions of empathy, and respect for all cultures and backgrounds. We're striving to build authentic relationships and being of service to the community. We seek to co-create communities that are restorative, supportive, and build abilities for sustaining skills for a lifetime. Our second vision statement reads this way. Long Beach Unified School District strives to create relationship-focused communities where people of diverse backgrounds are heard, respected, and valued. Students, staff, and families work alongside each other in a respectful and inclusive environment to embody justice and joy. We're committed to developing individuals who are kind, empathetic, and resilient. So I just want to remind you how we'll be using these vision statements. We'll be using the one that gets the most votes. We're kind of taking it on tour right now to guide and ground our interactions and expectations and communication, to guide and ground our professional development and coaching, to guide and ground our curriculum development and adoption, and to support us in our beliefs, behaviors, and ways of being in community. Dr. Prager, did you happen to drop the, yeah, she's given me a thumbs up, which means the voting has begun. So we want to invite you to go to the chat and click on the link. There's an English voting link and a Spanish voting link. And we will deploy a Khmer voting link very soon. And we'll ask Carmen to help us get that out to all of you. We want to invite you. I feel like a telethon now. Get out there, click on the link. Let's get as many votes as possible. If you're able to click on that link right now, we'll just give you maybe a couple of moments. We should have had a song to play. Anyone want to sing a song for us while we're voting? Anyone got a good voice? You don't want it to be me. We'll definitely lose callers if I do that. All right. And oh, Carmen, I saw you turned your mic on.
Well, I wasn't going to sing. I just wanted to know if anyone was having trouble accessing the link. You don't want me to sing either.
Let us know if you're having trouble, because we want to make sure that everyone has access. Your voice is valuable, welcomed and needed in this process. We really want the vision statement to represent what we as a community think is important for all of us to guide our work together in the realm of social emotional learning.
And Carmen, I imagine when we go to all our groups and stakeholders, including our students, we will make sure we reach back out to all of you parents to let you know which vision statement is the one that's going to guide us going forward.
Okay, so Ms. Salgado, let's see, maybe we repost the link in the chat. If not, I can always email it to you.
Oh, great. I saw some votes are in. Wonderful.
You don't have to be logged in. It's open to everyone. So if you're having difficulty, maybe you just need another format for us to give you the link, but it's not blocked for anybody. As long as you have the link, you can vote.
And voting will remain open for several weeks. So if you're not able to access right now from where you are, we're going to make it really easy for you to come back in and vote from maybe a place with more secure Wi-Fi or a piece of tech that works. I don't know you all, my iPhone updated in the middle of the night last night, and now I don't know how to use it. So if I were on my iPhone right now, I wouldn't be able to vote. So I don't, that's just my issue. I probably didn't need to say that. Okay, so thanks for taking the time to lift your voice and one thing I'm going to do before the close of our portion is part of my job as a social emotional learning coach is I am also a wellness expert, and I get to practice wellness with high school students in our wellness centers and teachers on retreats and in staff meetings and administrators in their fancy meetings. and I also get to practice wellness with parents and caregivers, and that's you. So we're going to take a few moments to take some care for ourselves. So I want to invite you to like really just relax back in your chair. If you're in your chair, if you're driving, don't relax back too much. But if you're seated right now, really just give yourself permission to lean back maybe 1 or 2 inches more in your seat. And if you're like me, I have my to-do list right here on my desktop. And I have 7 things on my to-do list for today. And only 2 boxes are marked off, and it's 3:45 in the afternoon. So I'm going to ask you to do what I'm going to do with my to-do list. I can't afford to rip it up and throw it away, but I can just turn it over for right now and let it go. So I want to invite you to do that right now as you lean back in your chair. I know we have so much to do. I'm at my job right now, and in a few minutes, I'll be leaving this job to go to my other job as a caregiver at home. So my day is so far from over, but I know that if I just give myself a little bit of breathing time right here, right now, it might just energize me to get through this day. So leaning back in your chair, feel your feet planted firmly on the earth beneath you. If it feels good, you could close your eyes or just soften your gaze. Maybe take a couple of deep cleansing breaths. And don't be afraid to voice your out breaths. So if you go like this, that's okay. It can be very therapeutic to sigh. It helps to process through our experiences. And you know, it's been so cold in the morning in Long Beach lately. So I want to invite you to imagine the weight of gravity gently hanging over your shoulders like a warm quilt. Maybe this warm quilt was sewn by a group of people who care deeply for you, your ancestors, your elders, your children, your aunts and uncles, your tias, your abuelitos. Imagine this gentle, warm weight of gravity inviting your shoulders to hang down and to soften and loosen. You know, the muscles in our shoulders carry a lot of stress. So imagine that quilt, that warm quilt, sewn with love and care, helping your shoulders to relax and soften. So relaxing in your chair, cozied up with this quilt. I'm taking a couple more deep breaths. With an audible sigh, if that feels good to you. And I think I better open my eyes and refocus before I fall asleep. I'm inviting you to do the same, to open your eyes or lift your gaze and just take a look at who's in the room with us, names and faces. I'm really expressing a ton of gratitude for you showing up today and for your willingness to vote and share in this process of collective decision-making around our social emotional learning vision statement. And we can hang out a few more minutes if anyone else has questions or just to hear the rest of the meeting. Thank you, Carmen, for inviting us and giving space for us to do this with your important parent group.
Thank you so much. And I do know that a couple of parents said that they were having trouble accessing the link. We've jotted your names down and we'll go ahead and we'll send it to you via email. Like Ms. Love said, we want to hear from all of you. It's essential that we get your input. So thank you so much. And then we'll resend as well when we have the Kamai. and then we'll have them come back and give us an update on which vision statement was selected. And thank you also for taking us through that just calming exercise. I do feel like I want to close my eyes just a little bit, but we're moving into our comments and our announcements. And so again, as a reminder, we have the link to our agenda that keeps getting posted in our chat. In the agenda, you have links to the slide presentation that I shared with you. We also have a link for attendance. And so I see about 13 of you were able to access that. You added your name and the school sites that you're representing. If you're having trouble opening that up, you can always add your first and last name and the school site to our chat. We'll capture your attendance that way. We do have a couple of more announcements. I do want to remind you that if at any time you're uncertain as to where to find the link for our meeting, you can always go to our district webpage under parents for parent groups, and our meeting will always be that announcement there for the week of our meeting, and you can find the link there. Or if you recall, when Ms. Fast from Parent University was here with us, she showed us that there's also a link there to a Canvas page. And so if you haven't been able to join any of our previous meetings, on that Canvas page, we can go ahead and you can access past agendas and past presentations. You're always free to email me or to reach out after our announcements. I'll stay for a little bit and see if anyone wants to just ask me any specific questions. And so our link also for any comments and questions are included in the chat. I'm going to allow Alan Shepard, who's joining us from our curriculum office, to give an update and an announcement on a program that he oversees called Ethnic Studies. And Ms. Miranda, I see your hand raised. I'll get to you right after Mr. Shepard's announcement, if that's okay.
Thank you very much, Carmen. I appreciate the opportunity to share this information with everybody. So I am Alan Shepard from OCIPD, and my office is in charge of all the history, social science, and ethnic studies programs that happen in Long Beach Unified School District. And one program that we're really happy to share news about is our dual enrollment opportunity. This is a program in which students that are in 11th and 12th grade can sign up and take a free college class at our high schools. This class is an ethnic studies course. They get college credit at the same time as they get high school credit upon successful completion of it. Now, the intro course that they're able to take is also one course that fulfills part of their requirements for college graduation. It is a California University requirement now that all students in California state schools complete a ethnic studies course, and this course actually fulfills that. So students would be doing 3 things at one time if they take one of these courses. I'm going to drop a link in the chat, and that goes to our district website that has some information about the ethnic studies program, and also allows parents and students to sign up for an info session that is hosted by Cal State Long Beach counselors so that they can further explain the program to any interested folks. And there's also a sign up for a request for more information. This spring semester starts February 5th for this program. The classes are held on Saturdays. They are controlled and run by college professors. So the student is taking a college course. So there's some details about registering at Cal State Long Beach and understanding that system that are critical for success. And the info sessions that are posted, and there'll be more info sessions in January, are there to help orient folks into this program. We're really excited to share this program. It has a 7-year track record. It's not a new program. It's been around for 7 years. We also have ethnic studies programs Monday through Friday at our high schools. And those are year-long courses that students can sign up for as well if they're not interested in the dual enrollment opportunity. Carmen and everybody else, thank you so much. I appreciate your time. And if you have any questions about ethnic studies, dual enrollment, or history, social science, feel free to email me, which my communication link is on the website that I dropped in the chat as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan. Ms. Miranda, if you want to unmute and either provide the comment or the announcement that you have for us.
Claro que sí, más que nada quería hacer
I wanted to make a comment regarding the resources that are available to the community. I've heard a lot of parents that are asking for tutoring and other things of the nature. I just wanted you guys to know that the library is one of the resources with a lot of resources available along with the school personnel. My daughter graduated from university, and I know other students who graduated from university, and that's one of the things that I wanted to share with you guys. The library, the representative from the library is here today, and I'd like her to share that with you guys because she I don't know if Ms. Villalpando can share with you guys this part of the presentation.
Y soy la coordinadora del Departamento de Alfabetismo y Antenet de Servicios para Padres. Entonces queríamos comentarles de diversos servicios y programas que tenemos en línea para todos.
I wanted to share with you guys these programs, the online programs regarding these issues with having tutors available. That would be available from 1 p.m. and until late at night. This is one of the options that you guys have at home. So I'm not sure if you guys want to share regarding the programs that we have available.
So Ms. Villalpando, we thank you for being here, and you're welcome to email me that information, and then we can go ahead and share with our parents and our representatives. And then if there are any follow-up questions, they can go ahead and reach out and we can connect. But we're happy to have you. Thank you for taking time out of your day to be here today. And Ms. Coleman, you had a question as well?
Yes, I mentioned it in the chat. This is for Alan. Alan, I just want to find out why Pacific Islander history and cultures are not teaching in the ethnic studies.
Perfect. So we'll go ahead and we'll make a note to that. And then Mr. Shepard, I'm writing that down for you. And then I know exactly how to get a hold of Ms. Coleman. So we can go ahead and respond to her directly. And then she can share with any other inquiring parents in that group. Ms. Coleman, does that work? Thank you. I see the thumbs up. Thank you so much. Any other public comments or announcements? Again, if you don't feel comfortable saying it out loud, you're welcome to add it in the link. Ms. Salgado, please.
Yes, thank you. My question actually was, do either of you know if there are specific dollars to support or purchase new books that are more culturally diverse for our elementary age students in their libraries?
That is a great question. And that, whether Mr. Shepard has the answer, I do know that we went ahead and did that a few years back with our curriculum office and specifically with our library services. The person who oversaw that at that time went into purchasing that. And so I can certainly share that information with you. Our school sites did receive an updated library, especially pertaining to our elementary schools. So I'll be happy to share that information with you, Ms. Salgado.
Did you say that schools received monies?
Schools received books. And so I'll be happy to double check and see if there was anything after the last couple of years that school sites have also received. But what I know of is that they received libraries.
Okay, I would love to see a list of if there's a prioritization of those schools, which ones are getting refresher courses. I mean, refreshing a new set of books or curriculum. I know I visited one of the libraries not too long ago before COVID, and I was a bit appalled as to what options were at the library. And so I'd love to see where and what schools have received funds or additional library books.
Okay, I'm making that note to reach back out to you. Thank you, Ms. Salgado. And we have time for maybe one more question, maybe someone we haven't heard from. So Ms. Miranda, you can go ahead and you can ask your question, and then you can also call the meeting to adjournment when your question is done. So go ahead, Ms. Miranda, unmute yourself and ask your question.
Sí, yo tengo una pregunta, Miss Carmen, o para las personas que me los puedan contestar. Muchas escuelas dicen que no pueden ofrecer tutoría.
Saying that they cannot offer tutoring because they don't have the necessary personnel, or the schedules don't necessarily accommodate the teacher schedules. But the schools are not don't offer tutoring due to that reason. So my question is, if the library has the resources available and they have the ample space from 1 to 10 p.m., can we work something out with the since they have the proper space so that students can get the tutoring that they need, since being that the schools are not offering those tutoring services?
Thank you for that question, Ms. Miranda. So when Ms. Villalpando and I connect and I get a little bit more of that information, I'll be happy to point her in the direction of those that are overseeing interventions and tutoring at our school sites. And then we'll continue that conversation then. Thank you, Ms. Miranda, for bringing that up. And at this point, I am going to ask.
Bueno, muchas gracias. Entonces, ahora sí vamos a proceder a cerrar la junta. Y
now we're going to proceed to finalize the meeting. One of the things that I found very interesting is this Tuesday there's going to be a meeting when they're going to open the account so that everyone can understand the resources that are available online. So Anna's going to be there to support all parents so that we can ask everybody to spread the word. There's going to be at 5 p.m. so that we can spread the word and share this information. So now it's 4:02. In this moment, we're going to ask everyone to conclude the meeting. We're going to ask the volunteers, the people that are volunteering today, just give their name, the school they're representing, and letting you know that we're concluding this meeting. And then the second person will second the motion. So we need volunteers.
Or we're having too much of a good time that we just want to keep chatting and keep the meeting going.
No se peleen, muchachos, nomás que ocupamos uno y luego.
We're fighting, guys. We just need one from one school and then the second one from another school.
Okay.
Carmen.
La segunda.
Yo, Lorena Rodríguez, y represento la escuela Smith.
Representing Smith School.
Pasamos la voz a nuestra representante, Carmen Hernández.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Miranda. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing, and that way
Me voy a dejar de compartir.
we can all go ahead and show our screen, show ourselves.
Y ahora todos podemos compartir la pantalla.
Together. A Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year.
Feliz Navidad, feliz Año Nuevo.
Thank you for being here. It's so nice to see new faces, new families. Nice to meet all of you. I look forward to when we can meet in person. Thank you, Ms. Lane, for your services. Thank you for those of you that were guests.
Thank you, Ms. Lane, for your You're welcome. My pleasure. It's nice to see you again, Carmen.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much. Thank you, Media Services. Thank you for our interpreters. Thank you for your support. And we look forward to seeing you in January. Don't forget that our meeting will be that last Thursday in January. So I look forward to seeing you all on January 27th, still virtual for now. Okay, thank you so much. Have a great afternoon. Be safe. Happy holidays.